an instrumental part of Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide, Agora worldwide. Counter economics, Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist strip, black market click, move a quick flip, can't regulate this. Agorist,
Agorist,
Agorist, Nexus, Agorist,
Agorist,
Agorist.
This is the Agorist Nexus podcast. I'm Brandon. I've got my great co-host Dag with me. How you doing, Dag?
Man, I'm doing all right. We had a little bit of a weather event at the farm here today. Kind of a little frustrated by, but that's okay. We get through it. We overcome.
You had some wind, hurricane,
or yeah, dude. We get like these crazy, like short, like wind bursts. Like nothing else is disturbed, but our shade structure that we do all our seedlings under got like thrown like a few hundred feet. Nothing else is messed up. I didn't see it happen. I don't know what happened. It's crazy, but you know, what are you going to do? All part of the adventure. So, but enough of me complaining about my life. Let's go ahead and give a big shout out to our sponsor, Presearch, decentralized search engine, no spying, no censorship, earn crypto by using it. Just a really cool project, really cool program. So I definitely recommend everybody, get off the Google machine and switch over to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great search engine. Decentralized, search is just amazing. They get better every day. They've even got dark mode, and you can seamlessly switch between search engines. And then why not get crypto for searching too? So I really love what they're doing over there. And definitely check them out. Or if you want to support us, you can hit our affiliate link as well. So with that said, we've got a very special guest today. I'm kind of a fan myself. Love what he's doing. His media has just been killing it. We've got the very special Tim Truth with us, and I wanted to have him on to talk about 9/11, COVID, all the fun stuff, vaccine. So, how you doing, Tim?
I'm doing really well. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's good to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it. So,
yeah, excellent. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I really wanted to shine light on your the documentaries that you're making, and it just whenever I look at 9/11, there's just so much information that points to, okay, well, it's not exactly the way that they said that it went down. It's just and there's so many coincidences that it's like, okay, we can't believe them on everything, right? Because there's so many things where it's like, okay, well, that, like Building 7 always gets me, right? Went down for no reason. So nothing hit it. A simple fire can't really bring down that type of skyscraper.
No way.
So, but yeah, if you could tell us what you're doing with your documentaries.
Sure. Yeah, I think we have a lot of responsibility here because we see the way the world's going, and we do have some tools that we can fight back. The censorship's really bad, but like the software I'm using here, DaVinci Resolve, I highly recommend it. It makes making documentaries really easy. It's totally free. And I see the opportunity now and the need to show people about what's going on in the world. And I think I've kind of figured out, as many of us have, these nefarious sources that are out there. And it's pretty easy just looking at them, like looking at what CNN is telling people, looking what New York Times is telling people, the people who lied to us about 9/11, we start to see a pattern. And we've all kind of learned a lot over the past few years. And I feel like the internet is getting into this really concerning lull. And I see some really inspiring projects like Odyssey, which I think could turn the tables back on that. But it seems like we just witnessed one of the largest burnings of information repositories ever. And that, of course, was YouTube deleting all those videos and getting people to self-censor. So I just see an important revival movement that's needed right now to embrace these new platforms like Odyssey, make the content more relevant and not as dated, because a lot of the 9/11 documentaries are pretty old. So I think we need new new goes at it, or, revisiting. Like right now with 9/11, I'm taking all the clips I can find of the South Tower getting hit. And of course, the North Tower got hit first. There's not much video of that. There's like one famous shot, but there's a ton of video of the South Tower getting hit because everyone was looking up on the in the sky at this big hole in the side of the building. And so I'm just going through and I'm organizing all the clips of this in sequence, so as you're going around the towers. So they're ordered based on angle. You're looking at this horrible thing happen. And it's just really interesting to see that way. And then like you start noticing that the footage looks very strange when you play it back to back to back. Like they're all using different filters, it seems. They've got the contrast and the levels way up. There's like impossibilities with background scenery moving in parallax when there's no movement on the camera. Just these really surreal shots. And it's like one of the creepiest things going back and reviewing the footage, just because I get the impression that a lot of it was faked. And it's, of course, not what they tell us. And you mentioned Building 7 earlier. That's a whole documentary that I have planned, of course. But looking at all three of the buildings, how they fell through the path of most resistance should be upsetting to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, physics. I mean, you're just denying physics at this point. These, I call them physics deniers, but
yep.
Yeah, it's really crazy to hear like, even if you say, okay, to somebody, well, what about Building 7? And it's like, still to this day, many people are like, what's Building 7? So yeah, I think doing a Building 7 a new one would just be great because, like you said, a lot of them are super old, and then I still get normies. I still get normies to this day. Like, what's Building 7? So yeah, I think that would be a really good one to cover myself. But anything else you have planned for the documentary? I mean, we want people to obviously watch it, right? But
oh, of course. Yeah. I just want to get the information out there. I think the color scheme is very interesting. I think there's a lot of contradictions between the different clips, such as like how the plane approached the building. And there's also footage out there that shows no plane and then the explosion in the building. And it's hard to tell at this point in time, what's the original footage? Are either of them original? How much have they been doctored? But it's a pretty trippy process to see, just clip after clip, of no plane in the explosion and then the plane going in the explosion. And it just goes to show that, those can't both be true video, but they both look pretty legitimate. Now, I think the way the plane goes into the tower is one of the most interesting parts of this whole discussion, because it doesn't seem like how a plane would actually collide into the side of a steel structure. And I think they wanted it to have this huge explosion up high where the collision happens. And if you watch the footage in both of the collisions, both towers, you have a big flaming balls of fire coming out 3 out of the 4 sides. So the plane comes in, and then where it's going and where it came from, those 2 sides have a big flame coming out, and then also like usually to the right or the left. So never all 4 of the sides, but it just doesn't seem like a plane would impact like that. First off, it doesn't seem like it would leave a hole free of any plane debris like that. And then also, I question how big the explosion is. And then what's craziest is the way the buildings collapse a short time later into their own footprint at near free fall speed and just a big cloud of dust. It doesn't look like any way that the buildings would actually fail. But so many people just get this all framed by their television, the mainstream news. And it's pretty remarkable how people don't even want to look into it, and they haven't even considered the anomalies like Building 7, like you say.
Yeah, I was watching some of the clips on your Flote page with the plane, hitting the building, and I'm like, all right, so it's a big plane, it's heavy, it's going pretty fast, allegedly, right? And like, I'm like, how would that react? Because it just sort of disappears into the building, and I'm like, I guess I could buy that. I mean, a plane's kind of hollow, right? But yeah, man, it is like, I mean, I just watched it again and again and again, and it's like, I don't know. Like something about it feels funny, but I mean, I've never actually seen a plane do that, so I don't really know what's supposed to happen. You know, it's really something, you know, because I don't know, like, it's easy to be like, okay, well, why didn't this happen? And it's like, well, if they invented this whole thing and it's like they make it too perfect, right? Then I don't know. Then I just start overthinking everything and I don't even know where to go. What? Sorry, that made
that's a great
no progress in the conversation.
That's exactly how a lot of us feel. But we're in this position where we have to try to explain things if we don't really have a good answer to it. But let me ask you: do you think that they had bombs in the buildings to make them ultimately collapse like they did? Like, putting aside the plane at the beginning, do you think that they were basically blown up?
They had to have. I mean, it went down like a demolition. So I mean,
yeah. From everything I've to understand from hearing about stuff, I guess mine more, my most blue-pilled version is going to be that, like, okay, yeah, there are a bunch of pissed off Muslims and they did these planes and this happened, but our government let it happen, knew it was going to happen, didn't have any problem with it happening because of all the other things they were able to gain from it, after the fact. But then, yeah, when you look at things like the one thing that really got me years ago was, learning about Building 7, and then it's like, okay, there had to be some sort of explosive something, planted in these buildings, or at least Building 7, because that doesn't just happen, To answer your question, I don't know.
Fair enough.
It could be, and I mean, you could tell me anything from, not the official story, because of course that can't be true. That just can't be true. But I mean, then you could tell me all the way it was lizard people and, lasers from outer space. And if that happened to be the truth, it wouldn't surprise me. So I don't know, man. I'm somewhere in between on all of it. I'm open to whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I don't have any certainty about how it went down. It just seems very odd to me, the way that it all transpired, and just thinking it through, like, maybe a magician would, if they're trying to make these towers disappear and blow up into a big cloud and collapse in on themselves, they have to have that first impact be so drastic that it actually kind of makes sense in a Looney Tune physics kind of way. But I just can't see it actually playing out like that. First of all, I just think the plane would kind of roll off the face of it. But I could be wrong. But if it did explode like that, I just don't see how. Like, I think they say that 1/3 of the jet fuel went down the elevators and blew up. I just have a hard time buying all that. Plus, how much came out the sides. It's just, the more I watch it, the more surreal it looks, the more like a movie scene. And I can't shake that feeling.
Or that they could know things like that, like, yeah, whatever, forensics, but, like, I don't know, man. It seems like, yeah, a lot of the stuff they figured out was too accurate, or, like finding the passports, like stuff like that's a little crazy. Didn't something happen in, like, I don't know, the 30s? Didn't, like, a plane hit the Empire State Building or something? What happened? I mean, the building didn't fall. What happened in that case to the plane? Did it go into the building? Did some of it hang out? Is there anything that we can draw any sort of parallels to?
That's a great question. I'm pretty sure it didn't fall down. I think it just left a gash. And I think they said it was due to fog, but that's all I know.
There are several towers around the world that have had, like, fires or planes hit them. Mm-hmm. And none of them went down. None of them. And these are, like, well-engineered structures. Probably not as well-engineered as the Twin Towers, because they were built for... They were built to withstand terrorist attacks,
and they were so much newer too.
Yeah,
the Empire
built
State
in
in
the 70s. Yeah.
So, Tim, what got you into 9/11 truth stuff?
That's a great question. I used to be addicted to YouTube back in the day, and I would actually come across some interesting stuff with their old algorithms. So I can't remember exactly what got me towards 9/11 truth videos, but somehow they started popping up on my recommendation page. And I'm embarrassed that I didn't piece it together at the time, but I think it's just a matter of, if you're never fed certain information, you don't even consider it. And I think that's where most people are. They've just been fed all of these data points that point them in one conclusion, in the direction of one conclusion. And it's inevitable that they'll come to that conclusion. But I was finally seeing some different evidence, like Building 7 falling, the BBC and CNN pre-reporting that it had fallen before it actually did. And, I watched I had to watch probably 100 times Building 7 falling, but then it finally clicked and it registered that that's also how the Twin Towers fell. And the media was pushing this so hard from the jump to make this about war in the Middle East and about Osama bin Laden. And they were also pushing this online. Well, I guess at some point early on in the algorithm on YouTube in the glory days, it didn't so much care about mind controlling people. It doesn't seem as much as it was just giving people what they wanted to see. They've fixed that. But it was getting some steam through YouTube's algorithm back in the day. And once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. And it was such a pivotal moment. So I just kept delving in deeper and deeper and trying to explain what we're looking at there. And it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I had a friend try to turn me on to a Pocket Change way back in the day, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Or Loose Change, is that what it's called? Loose Change.
Right, Loose Change.
And I never actually watched it. I'm like, man, shut up. That's crazy. I was not at all open to it, at the time for sure, back when that came out.
And neither was I. And you have to think about how much conditioning they did to people with the entertainment. Like I have an acronym, How the Few Control the Many, Mr. Cage, media, religion, corporations, academia, governments, and entertainment. And so oftentimes we see these comedians on TV keeping people in the reservation with the guardrails and just teaching people, no, that's a ridiculous position. That's deserving of being mocked. This is what you say when people say this. And they can do a lot of damage in mental confining to people. But I'm always open to debates about 9/11. I think it's a very interesting, important topic. But I just don't buy that the Twin Towers could have been knocked down that way. And yeah, Building 7 was the big eye opener because there's no explanation for that, where the whole thing just implodes in on itself. I mean, there's some explanations, but the mainstream ones don't pass it the muster.
Do you think that it's possible do you think that we'll ever know what happened that day? Or do you think that we're just always going to be kind of speculating?
I think we'll always have to speculate. I don't think we'll have all the info.
Yeah, I think it'll be like the Kennedy assassination where they, covered it up really well.
Yeah.
Many of the people,
and then even if you get a deathbed confession, who's going to believe them? Yeah.
And
right.
The thing too is when you look at the Pentagon, there's nothing left. There's nothing left.
No plane debris.
Yeah, there's zero plane debris in the Pentagon explosion, and it's impossible. Not even one of those big engines. Zero plane debris, and it's like, well, that's impossible that there's not even a wing or or part of a wing or something, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. The lack of plane parts is very good.
Yeah, the lack of plane parts is very disturbing, and in all of the even the plane that went down by itself in Pennsylvania,
Shanksville.
Yeah, zero plane debris.
Do you think it was shot down?
For me, I have no idea what happened with that one. That's a weird story. I don't even know if there was a plane, but then what did they shoot down? Did they shoot down a missile? I don't know. There's really no good explanation that I've heard as to what happened that day, but the mainstream explanation is one of the worst that I've heard. And it seems like it's malicious. Like they're covering up for the true criminals, it seems, in the mainstream with this fake story that allows them to accomplish, all their objectives. Fortunately for them. But yeah, I think we have to look at who profited off of this, the defense contractors, and it like one thing that's sad about it is you start learning it may very well be an inside job, but then you have to ask yourself, like, how big is this inside? And that's where it gets very concerning. When you see how many people are working to keep this illusion going, and especially if they know that what they're saying is a lie, but they're doing it anyway for power and money just to mislead people. And I think that there's a lot of that happening. Like, you never see anybody touch any of these stories in the mainstream. And I don't know how that could be. Like, does nobody want to tackle it from that side for journalistic purposes? It's like they're all one monolith in the mainstream press. It's really remarkable.
It really is. And when you look at things like, especially so much has come out since then, like in the sense of like, it's come out that like, oh yeah, the press was just basically just regurgitating, stuff that intelligence agencies would give to them. They wouldn't do any investigation on it, and help push the war. And like even like Colin Powell and like how many other like big politicians said something like, oh yeah, like I knew it was nonsense or whatever, to push us into this war. And even like after that, like you think they would lose so much or at least some credibility, but then, I mean, after this year, I don't know, man, if everything that's happened in 2020 doesn't like, you can't see it, then I don't even know what else to say. It's like it's like hopeless,
Hey guys, quick pause here to tell you about our sponsor, Devault Cryptocurrency. Ticker symbol DVT is a low cap coin with a market cap around 900,000. So there could be room for opportunity here. Not financial advice, but we really like this project.
Yeah, the Devault core wallet is one of the best I've ever seen. Very user friendly, super easy to use with cold staking rewards. So it's like getting interest. They're working on privacy with Terraform, also DeFi to decentralize and replace financial institutions.
So go ahead and check them out over at devault.cc and get you a Devault core wallet today. Also, be sure to check out the show notes to find exchanges that they are traded on. With that said, let's get back to the show.
Yeah, and there's not much trust in the mainstream news, but somehow they can still pull the wool over people's eyes. It's really, it's amazing. People
don't believe it unless they see it on there. If they don't hear it on the news, it didn't fucking happen, whatever, maybe, or it's a conspiracy thing or whatever. But it's like, that's really what cements it for people. It's something, maybe like you said, it's conditioning or whatever. But yeah, if it don't come from those like four sources, it's well, I don't know. And I mean, I even got to admit, when I'm looking into a story, and it seems a little, I don't know. I mean, it's, something that maybe the mainstream wouldn't typically report on. Like I do check a mainstream source too, to get it that sort of helps me gauge, what might actually be going on when I look at the, the more, the smaller source that might be putting something that sounds a little conspiracy theory-ish, but yeah, I mean, I check them too, because that does sort of help to give you a gauge as to, I don't know, at least how out in the open something is.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that they're being well informed by going to those sources. It's very concerning. People have their drive to be intelligent hijacked, their curiosity hijacked, and also their good-naturedness hijacked for the oligarchs, the control freaks that are running the show. They just play them like a fiddle. It's sad. Like, I want to get mad at them for not being more discerning, but I can see why it's happening, because people get fed this information from cradle to grave through their eyes and their ears, with the help especially of the, it was the television and now it's the internet, but people are just getting fed so much of the same stuff that they think they've cross-referenced it. They don't see that it's all the same source and it's not on their behalf. It's, I don't know. I see some very concerning days ahead. I worry about these people who haven't seen the light yet, and now they're on these like really controlled platforms like YouTube and Facebook. Like, how are they going to ever see the light? I wonder a bit if this talk about quarantining outbreaks is really talking about, people speaking the truth or speaking truth to power and having it, get into popular culture.
Yeah, it's it's been something, and it is frustrating. Because like after people who are intelligent and they want to be informed and they want to know what's going on, and they think, they just kind of regurgitate. Like I have a friend who's a huge New York Times fan, and I mean, she's just terrified constantly of the world, and it's heartbreaking. She's smart, she wants to be informed, and she thinks she is, so it's like, how do you tell that person, that they're not? And it's, I don't know. I don't have a good answer to that.
she's trying to do what's right too. And it's like, it's hard to get mad at her for that. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I know a lot of people in my family that are the same way. But New York Times came out with that piece saying, don't go down the rabbit's hole. Critical thinking isn't helping us right now. And I just like, how can anybody respect a publication that puts that out? It's not helping us right now. Like, it's helping me. I don't know where I'd be without critical thinking.
Just listen to what we tell you. That's all you need.
Oh man, that's practically their bottom line in that article. It's amazing to hear the so-called authoritative voices saying, "Don't listen to anybody else. Listen to us. We're authoritative." It's like, how about you guys actually earn your respect? And I don't think there is much respect for these institutions. That's a question I have for you guys. Like, what percentage of people are actually going along with Big Brother and the oligarch's agenda versus maybe this is a manufactured consensus that they're just pushing through the media as if they do have their numbers? Or do you think that we're outnumbered big time by the bootlickers?
Real quick, I can go first on that. For me personally, I see a lot of people go along to get along, like they wear masks so they don't get looked at funny, or whatever. But for the most part, like even the people that do the stuff, like they're like, yeah, this is nonsense. Like from what I hear if you just listen to the news, the main corporate media, you'd think like people aren't going out to restaurants. They're not, in order for people to start traveling again, we need to do this. People have been traveling, dude. Like I've been going to bars and restaurants for, I'm in Florida, dude. Like I've been going since, the summer, my life barely changed throughout all this. So I really think that, a lot of it is the media making it seem like more people are going along with this, like it's bigger than it is or whatever, but compared to what I walk outside and see, at least in my town, I don't know, man, a lot of people wear masks, but for the most part, people just doing their thing.
Yeah, I mean, not much has really changed on my end. Like I do everything that I would normally, and I try not to wear masks. That's kind of difficult in my area, but masks have kind of helped me in other ways too. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of. I mean, it's hard to really know, right? Like when I talk to people, and I ask them, like, hey, they just kind of, they're all on like, they're all just repeating like what you would hear on, CNN or whatever. And so, yeah, I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, it's really amazing to see how well like propaganda works, and it's really amazing to see to see all of it in real life. And
it happened so fast. I mean, this has been a year,
Yeah.
It's amazing how far they've ruined this world in a year. And that's just my opinion that, this is a choreographed, orchestrated effort. I think that that's what it seems to be to me. It's like they're blowing this one issue way out of proportion, making it like they're obsessing about it. Like, I don't want to diagnose people with mental health issues, but it just seems like to be this concerned about one thing and just hyper obsess about it. It just doesn't seem like they're making sound decisions. Like, why is this issue worth ruining everything else for? And then you look at their actions and it doesn't even really line up with trying to make people healthy. They're not teaching people about their immune systems and the importance of getting whatever, zinc or vitamin C or D or some sunshine and fresh air or whatever. They just give people really bad advice, it seems. Like cover your mouth with a piece of fabric. That's probably really causing a lot of issues with people, especially if you don't change your mask regularly.
Mhm.
I just think people should be breathing fresh air. And since when is it like
Kinda
health
intended.
advice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've since we're talking about masks, I saw some stuff in your Flote page that I had not heard of. What is this black strings or hairs or something in the mask?
That's a weird one. I don't know what to make of that, but people
Haven't
around
heard
the
of that
world
one.
have been looking under their microscopes at these masks or with like their zoom camera, and there are these weird little black threads, and they sometimes react to heat or moisture, and people are speculating, what are these threads that are moving on the mask? Are they innocuous, or are they something more sinister? You know, some sort of a parasite or some sort of a technology that, I don't know. They seem like they have a life of their own, like they're moving around or something. Now, that's just speculation. It's more like we should be looking at what we're importing from China and strapping onto our face. So I saw that, and I just compiled all the examples I could find, just kind of doing my leg at the relay, hoping that other people could come and explain it. But yeah, there's a lot of questions as far as that goes.
Well, it's funny because, like you made a great point. Like, yeah, like, we're just, you don't look into where these products come from, and yeah, you strap them across your face and, breathe through them. And one of the things that I've really been on, it's like the amount of waste, products, masks, cleaning supplies, bleaches, disinfectants, all this stuff that we've gone through this year. And it's just like, well, where are the environmentalists all of a sudden? Because it's just, I can't walk through a parking lot without stepping on 3 masks. It's really gross.
Right. It is gross. I would rather walk by someone who's not wearing a mask than walk by someone wearing a mask. I don't know. I just get just breathe. Everyone should just breathe normally and not freak out. I feel like people are so stressed out, and I just would handle this completely different. Why don't we just have people who are sick stay home, and just like we do with everything else?
Yeah, exactly. And do the deaths really justify? I mean, I don't want anybody to die, right? But do the deaths really justify? Like, if you look at the numbers from 2017 to 2021 or to 2020, do the deaths really change that much to where, it justifies all of this behavior? And my answer is no. But
right.
What
are you talking about the totals?
Yeah, the total.
Yeah,
what do you
totals really call into question how many they're saying are COVID deaths, and I think that there's some shenanigans going on with how they count these, and the same standards are not used at all. For example, with people injured or seemingly injured by the vaccines, they often get put off as unrelated. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I forgot what else I was going to say.
No,
they've changed how they record deaths. So yeah, if you've had COVID at some point, it's COVID death. Like, there's no more natural causes,
right,
flus or whatever.
Flu is way down.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and we know the numbers we know that they're not 100% accurate, because we know that there are some deaths where people have died in motorcycle accidents and car accidents, or we've had family members say, hey, you put COVID death on here when they didn't die of COVID. So we don't know how many of those instances there are, but we know that, whether it just be, 2 or 5 or whatever, which in my opinion, there's more, but we know
it's
the
not
numbers
just
are not 100% accurate,
Right, definitely not. We've had a lot of whistleblowers come out and basically say that they're basically pushing COVID as a cause more often, and that the numbers are easy to hype. One whistleblower said, and yeah, it's crazy how they can just move as one for political purposes like this. And flu's just gone, and now everything's COVID. It's like, geez, does anybody have a soul? I mean, everyone's just going to go along with this.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, there's definitely incentive to do it because they're getting kickbacks, but I think it's it's weird to see it happen in other countries too. Like, I've got family in Mexico, and they'll say, "Hey," the doctors will say, "Hey, we'll give you extra money if you're okay with us putting COVID-19 on here as the cause of death."
Wow.
And so it's just amazing to see. This is kind of like, it's not just the U.S., right? But it's Canada, Mexico. It's a global thing, and so yeah, I would really want some reporters to definitely do some more. But I firsthand know that there are some doctors that are doing this. So, but I would definitely want some more stories about that for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a video that was going pretty good on YouTube. Of course, I ended up getting a strike for it, but it had two doctors. One, Dr. Scott Jensen, did a great job talking about it. And there's this other woman doctor, I forgot her name, but she had a really good speech she gave about it, about the death certificates. And but yeah, the Scott Jensen testimony is very interesting. And they threatened to take away his medical license. I've actually seen that happen. There's another guy, Steve LaTulip. He was a doctor. I guess he still is a doctor. I'm not sure, but he had his license revoked, and just for questioning and not wearing masks. So it's just remarkable that they say trust the experts, and then they take away anyone's license who disagrees with them. And so that's going to keep people on the same page.
Well, that was happening a lot at the beginning of all this, especially on YouTube. You know, if you didn't have the official story, boom, they bump you off YouTube, even doctors. And there was even some, I don't remember anybody's names. It's been a while, but like he was just questioning the respirators. He's like, look, you know, we, or the ventilators, I'm sorry. I work with these, I put people on ventilators. He was just questioning. So he wasn't even saying they shouldn't be doing them. And yeah, like they kicked them off. Like, I mean, they might've done like fired them or something. Like it's crazy. And what's really crazy about is what a lot of these people were saying has turned out since to be true, but of course, no apology or anything, but even besides the point, it's like they were kicking them off and they were right. They were silencing them and they were right. I mean, my personal doctor, my cardiologist, she's like, she's like, if the masks even do anything, they're delaying herd immunity, which isn't a good thing. She works with very sick people, and she's like, look, like we haven't had issues with our patients getting this. At first we were a little worried. She said, but now this is nonsense. The masks are stupid. They're going to make you sicker than, the COVID would. So like my doctor tells me this, so it's frustrating because obviously some doctors get it, but you're not going to hear from them.
And can't you get like some kind of like disease from wearing them, like breathing in bacteria all day? I mean, I just think of warm. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, some people mention bacterial pneumonia as a risk.
I just feel like I've been saying this for, a year. A warm body temperature, moist cloth is like the perfect breeding ground for bacteria. I mean, that is the place for it to grow, so it just seems unhealthy, and it's not the kind of thing people are wearing them for 5 minutes at a time. People are going to work or school for crying out loud and wearing them all day. It's ridiculous, besides the fact they're uncomfortable, it's like, they don't seem healthy. I just don't understand how people are putting up with it. I mean, it must just be a virtuous thing, or it's giving them meaning. This is my World War II. I'm saving grandma by wearing a mask. It's almost like it's a testament to how privileged, I hate to use that word, but like how privileged, like we are, that this is people's World War II, that this is their thing. You know what I mean? This, like you said, they're so worried about this one little thing. Aren't there so many other things you could or should be more stressed or concerned about? You know what I mean? But are our lives that good that we're concerned of a cold?
And it's an amazing phenomenon. It's like you mentioned, it's like, what is going through these people's mind? I think it's really them wanting to do the right thing, maybe trying to score political points. And they're just absolutely coming to different conclusions than I would. That's for sure. And it's just amazing that we have such different groups of people with different outlooks. And one just seems to be handed to them from the Wizard of Oz characters, behind the curtains. That's how I see it anyway. It just seems like it's the oligarchs, propagandists that are effectively using high tech, convincing a lot of people to just go with this prevailing narrative. It's really remarkable to me.
I've heard some interesting theories that they've sort of been trying to get a disease to catch on for really since a couple years after 9/11, is another way to, 9/11 worked so well as a government advancement of power that, a disease could probably be even better. It's not the invisible enemy abroad. It's the invisible enemy here inside of all of us, so it's a really great, blank check. But I kind of feel like this one sort of is the one that took, they did Event 201 and everything just before simulating this exact thing. So yeah, I'm really curious as to what, if this is something they've been trying to do for a while, or if this is just a plan that they're doing now, or what, it's very curious for sure. And it's just one of those things, like even like with 9/11 and going to war, there's just so many people who could benefit from this that it's really makes it hard to hash out, who is actually malevolent and who's, just going along.
Right. It's like the Fabian Society's motto: when we strike hard. I just get the impression that they're striking, the hell out of us right now. And they just kind of have been infiltrating all of these offices of power, say all these health advisors and health, what do they call it? Health officials. And then they knew this was going to drop. And now they have all of these different offices. Like they learned all the laws and they learned, which offices they need to infiltrate. They got them all. And then now they're hitting us all at the same time. And it's just a confidence bluff. It's not even a bluff. They're just going for it. And not enough people are looking at this with a critical eye. I have a quote here from Joseph Stalin that's relevant, I think. The easiest way to gain control of the population is to carry out acts of terror. The public will clamor for such laws if their personal security is threatened. That's what I think this is all about. It's just, trauma-based population control and mind control.
I think that the first impression of COVID-2 really put some fear on people. It kind of made me think about maybe I don't want that to come to my neighborhood. When I saw it, the first image of COVID for me was Chinese people dropping in the streets and almost having seizure type. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but
I remember you're right. That was the first thing we saw. And it was even anti-establishment people. It didn't start from the media, but later it caught on by the media, but then it turned into something else. It wasn't people dropping dead anymore.
Yeah, now it's it's like a cold, and I'm like, what happened to what happened to before, So
yeah, it really does seem like all those initial, you were talking about the stuff from China was that just way obviously not true, So then it's who was doing that up to us? Was it the Chinese or our own people, or are they all just the same anyhow? So,
I swear it started in conspiratorial circles, in the circles of so-called conspiracy theorists. Mm-hmm. Before I heard it from the mainstream media, I was hearing it from people really genuinely concerned about it and thinking that the media was covering it up. And really it was this scary disease that is going to get us, but the media is going to let it happen. And then it just, proved them wrong, essentially, when the media started cheerleading this as, the number one issue in the world for the past year plus. So, really interesting. Whoever rolled this out as a social engineering campaign, I believe started in the conspiracy theory groups. And that's a really interesting decision. I could be wrong. That's my assessment.
Well, I was listening to something today and a podcast today, and guy was talking about, he was just sort of going back through some of we're at a year now, some of the original stuff, and a lot of it was they come out like Fauci. Especially he came out, one day and was like, oh, this isn't going to be a big deal. It's going to be like the flu. Don't worry about it, kind of thing. And then it was 5 days later, he comes out and he's like, oh no, this is going to be a terrible thing, and there was just so much flip flopping, from just Fauci alone, we talk about it, oh, don't wear the masks. They don't help. So, oh my God, we got to wear masks. And then it's, oh yeah, I was lying to you, but it was to help get them to the right people, so even when he's admittedly lying. But yeah, it was almost like there was a point where, it was oh, no, this is going to be a thing. And then maybe they realize hey, this could be a thing, wink, wink, and turn the tables or what? I don't know, man. The whole thing's just been strange.
Yeah. And then what about those swabs that they stick up people's nose? I won't say stick up people's brain, but they're practically like stabbing people in the brain with those things. And the question is why? You know, if this thing is so contagious, why can't they just take a simple saliva sample? Like, what's up with the stabbing people up the nose? Do you guys, I'm sure you've noticed that they're doing that, right?
Yeah, if it's so contagious, why would that be the case?
Why are they using those tests?
I mean, are they getting like, do they like categorize them, or like do they put something on them? Like, you know, who knows, right?
Right. It could be some sort of a drug delivery system. It could be to inflict some damage on that part of the brain membrane or whatever it is. It just seems so counterintuitive. But yeah, it's like there could be a really rational explanation about why they're doing that, and it could be very sinister.
Yeah, and you know, and why anal swabs too? Like, you know,
That's a good question. Did you guys see the Johns Hopkins what do they call it? Theragrippers?
No.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you guys didn't see that story, man. It was you're gonna search it, Johns Hopkins Theragrippers. They said, our team is proud to announce that we were inspired by parasitic worms that clamp on to people's GI tracts. So we developed these Theragrippers, and they show it on a Q-tip swab, these little specks, and then you see them. It's like this metal star that when it gets hot, it just clamps down on people's intestines. So then they came out with the butt swabs, and it seems like I don't trust these people. Let's just say that I don't trust them at all. But
yeah, I see. I got to pull up the Theragripper. I was thinking maybe they're putting these up there with those swabs.
Well, I'm not saying that, but it is weird that they came out in 2019 with this press release, and it's just like what is on the swabs, and why would they even be talking about like delivering medicine that way? Like, why would you make Theragrippers that cling on to people's GI tracts or whatever? Why do they picture it on a Q-tip? Like, what? It seems like Mangala stuff to me. Like, well, this is crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know why people would even feel comfortable with dropping trial for that. Like, I didn't even, I didn't even want to do the, and I haven't. I've refused to do the nasal swabs or the, you know,
I've really wanted to call up a bunch of clinics and just like make funny recordings asking them if they offered the butt swabs. I just think that would be a funny prank video, but I keep deciding that I'm too mature for that. But I did see somebody get blocked on Twitter for asking somebody, some clinic, if they offered butt swabs. It's just like, I feel like if they're going to try to talk about this with a straight face, it just is a funny chance to call them up and to see if they'll offer that service just in a weird way, and see what happens. Because they'd have to consider it like it's legit. I'll be like, I hear that the Chinese scientists say it's more accurate. Like, I don't even think I could do it with a straight face. I'll be honest. That's a sidebar, though.
You're like, yeah, can I get like 3 of those?
And like the half a dozen times I've even like had to wear a mask or something, I just feel so like stupid. But I'm like, you guys really do this? Like, really? like I feel like everyone must be looking at me funny wearing a mask.
People will go for runs with their masks on.
Oh God.
I
see that all the time. I see that all the time. People walking on the side of the road with nobody around, you know.
I've made a point to not wear a mask, and I'm thankful I live in an area where they're not writing tickets. I don't know if that's too common a thing. I hope not. Like, I don't know how many people are getting just ridiculous tickets for daring to show their face. I hope it's next to zero, but I don't know. I mean, we see ridiculous stories pop up on social media all the time, but that's just crazy that we live in such a world where people have to worry about, paying a bill they can't afford for showing their face and breathing freely in public. Like, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. During the lockdown, there were people getting arrested for going to the beach for, I think one dude got arrested for like water canoeing or something.
Yes, I remember that. And a lot of businesses have been penalized for being open.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of atrocities, obviously, and just people losing their God-given rights, or being deprived of them, I should say. But like the right to assemble, the right to practice their religion. And I think soon they're going to be coming after free speech. It might be, part of this whole agenda, or the free press, I should say. I worry about Soviet like fake news laws rearing their ugly head again.
Well, that's what a lot of these guys say. Like, wasn't it Jack Dorsey said at the recent congressional or Senate, whatever thing they did? He was like, no, I'm a free speech. I'm a big fan of free speech, blah, blah, blah. But, we can't have, misinformation or something like that, and it's like, well, who decides? And that's always, the issue with anything like that. Who decides what's true or what's misinformation or whatever, obviously it makes sure there's no free, it's one or both. You can't just have free speech, open, not this, or it's not free speech. If you want to restrict it, just say so, but don't blow smoke up my ass.
Yeah. Cause you have to have thought police if you're going to start policing misinformation. So anyone who's pushing for making misinformation illegal or it should be censored, it's basically just calling for thought police. And, I'm not on their side at all on this one.
All right, let's take a quick second to shout out Agorist Acres Seeds. Agoristacres.com stocks a variety of seeds for your garden or homestead. They also have really cool packaging instead of those silly paper envelopes.
Buy seeds with crypto, support the counter economy, and become self-sustaining today. Agorist Acres offers fast shipping so you can get started right away.
Make sure you use code Nexus10 at the checkout for 10% off of your orders. Also, they will donate a portion of the sale to Agorist Nexus, helping to bring you all the great content you expect. And all right, let's get on with it.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to science, like I love science, small S science, not big S science, but I love science, so I'm some anti-science. But here's the thing about science is that like it's pretty much always traditionally been wrong until we find, the better answer or the more correct answer. So whenever, somebody just treats it like, oh no, like, you can't speak, against this science that it might be incorrect because that's dangerous. And it's, well, you know what? Chances are it is incorrect, and it's not, purposefully. It's just, we're always learning. I mean, modern science is what, 100, 200 years old? How much do we really know? Okay, great example. I read a newspaper article today that they have like these new particles, some subatomic thing they're working with, and they're not reacting at all the way they expect them to react, which makes them think that, there must be some other force or type of matter or energy in the universe we don't even know exists or comprehends yet. And they're like, this could change everything. And I'm like, yes, I've been saying that for years. Yes, you don't understand shit, and we're getting there, but it's like to think that you can really just understand that, every little thing about how the universe works, at this point in human history is laughable,
Oh, great point. Yeah, I always say I know 0% of reality. And I am really bothered by people who are so cocksure that they know everything. They think that they have figured out everything, and like they think they know what the sun is or something. It's like we can't comprehend certain things. But yeah, it's amazing to me how sure people are. They're such know-it-alls in some cases. And I don't like that about science because, and I'm just using their words here, the way they would use the term science. It basically, that is the thing to infiltrate if you're a rich person that's trying to deceive a lot of people. You just roll it out as science and everyone buys it. And I see that happen so often that I think we need to be on guard to that word and just be, like you said, the small s science. We need to be sticking to the methodology and not, the authorities telling us what science is, because that's very dangerous. If we all just teach children, hey, just listen to whatever the TV says science says to do, we're going to find ourselves in an even worse situation. And that's how we got here.
Look at all the names on the big, the medical colleges. Everything's Carnegie, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt. It's all the big old titans that were supposed to be the evil robber barons. They're the ones who funded our modern medical and scientific, system, and then of course they have it cartelized. So I mean, it just, on its face of things, you'd have to assume there's chicanery going on.
Agreed.
Yeah, and they control, all the big medical industries, like Tim was saying earlier. But I wanted to switch to vaccines because I think it's such an important issue, and I think that I think a lot of people are going to take some of these vaccines when really, in a lot of cases, it will be, in my opinion, not necessary because one, I guess you can't. Well, now this is what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've heard that even if you do get the vaccine, that it doesn't stop you from getting COVID. It doesn't stop you from spreading COVID, and it doesn't stop you from. It doesn't stop you. You still need to wear a mask with it. Is that? Is this still the case from everything you've heard too?
We keep hearing these like press releases come out, and then the news will run with them. I think they are saying it offers some protection against those things. They say it does stop you from getting COVID, especially severe symptomatic COVID. It's a debatable though. These things are debatable, and if you look at their methodology, it begs those questions. But yeah, they're starting to sound like, it's not total, but it does offer some protection. And so basically, their final piece is they say that we have to hit herd immunity to really open back up. And they also have the individual punishments with the vaccine passports that they're eyeing. And then, so my big thing is I think people should just have a choice. If they want to sell a medical product, cool. I hope it's a good one. I don't know why they wouldn't develop a good one other than the, well, we won't get into that, the population control side of things. But yeah, it's just like sell your product and people can buy it if they want. And if it's such a good protective intervention, then people will line up. But they came out and they told us it's safe and effective, 95% effective. And now they're telling us it's going to become every like 6 months. And that they're already talking about the third shot that people will probably need to get. So I can see where this is going. And the vaccine passport would be disastrous because then the state can just force us to take whatever injections they want, which is a scary precedent.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't work or you can't drive or, and I love the argument where it's like, well, you don't need to, you're not being forced to get it. And it's like, well, I am kind of, because they're not allowing me to do anything without, you're going to have to show you're probably going to have to show your vaccine passport and going to the grocery store or
to travel, to get in an Uber.
Yeah, to get in an Uber, just everything, right? So
it's ridiculous. Could you actually take 3 shots though? Like, I don't trust these people enough to take 1 shot. Like, if they think they're going to get me to come up to their place 3 times and let them shoot me up with something, I just don't think I'd ever do that. And I'm not just going to take the Johnson & Johnson one because it's 1 shot. That one actually has been having some issues lately. I think they just had to close down a Vax center that was doing Johnson & Johnson. Colorado COVID vaccine site closes early after multiple adverse reactions. So I don't know. What do you guys think though? Could you do 3 shots?
I'm not doing any.
Yeah, absolutely not. I'll get, if I have to, I'll go black market COVID vaccine certificate.
Oh yeah. I've got a couple here actually. The FBI came out and said, you are a criminal if you dare do it. I think that I think they're the real criminals. Yet, of course, they want to make us feel like we're, bad people.
Well, the FBI was they actually got caught for trying to for trying to commit terrorist attacks and stuff. So I mean, they're one to talk. But
speaking of, did you see Joe Biden's ATF pick or something about firearms?
Yes.
It was the guy from the raid in Waco.
Yeah, I did see that.
I didn't.
Not
see
surprising.
It. What?
What's the guy's name? I forget his name, but yeah, he was the the ATF dude in when Rich Davidian thing happened, and he still backs what happened there. Like he says that they did the right thing.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture right now of him posing with his gun in front of the rubble that's still smoking.
Oh, he was one of those assholes who was taking the trophy pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh god, and that's what got me like the Waco, like the short series thing that came out like a year ago, which was okay, I guess. But like they show the FBI guy like crying at the end as they're dying in there, and he's
and I'm like, they weren't
taking
crying.
trophy pictures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Biden picked him as some kind of like head of
the ATF. He's going to be, or he's nominated to lead the ATF, according to what I'm looking at.
Yeah, today was supposed to be the executive order day for whatever he's going to do on guns, which doesn't sound, from what I'm understanding so far, much different than the whole big scene like Schumer made a week or two ago that we talked about, where it's basically like, oh, we need to stop these ghost guns, blah, blah, blah. And then it was just like, oh, we're going to redefine how pistol brace is, defined. Like that was like basically the whole thing. And well, we're going to take a look at some definitions. It's really about all they can do. It seems like it's probably just, for show, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, when you take trophy pictures of dead, burnt children, there's a, there definitely should be a special place for you. That's for sure.
Yeah, no kidding.
So what about the what have we heard about the adverse effects? I mean, how?
Good question.
And it's hard to get all the facts, right? Because a lot of the information is controlled. I think there are non-disclosure agreements where vaccine companies will make people sign. When they do settle up, they do make people sign non-disclosure agreements and stuff. So, what do we know about the adverse effects at this point in time?
Well, we know basically only what they tell us the trials yielded. And then we also have the VARS database and the yellow card database in the UK. So we've been on top of looking into this. I actually have a website if anyone wants to see the reports I've put out or browse the data from VARS. It's just vaxpain.us. We'll take you there. And I've done a number of reports such as people dying within days of the vax, shaking, passing out, other bodily malfunctions. There's been a lot of people dying like in the parking lot, leaving the clinic, or just passing out, or it's pretty remarkable. Miscarriages, numbness, paralysis, Bell's palsy, heart attacks and cardiac arrests, blindness and vision issues. But there's also these documents that they've put out about the side effect rates. And I just don't know how anybody can call this safe, because safe means free from danger or risk. But here we have Pfizer BioNTech, 84.7% local reaction rate, 77.4% systemic reaction. And systemic somewhere else besides where you got stabbed with the needle. It'll be like a headache or something, which is a central nervous disorder. Or yeah, something like that. So I just find it remarkable that these side effects are so high, yet people call it safe. I just don't think that's even like the proper definition of the word. And Vox and all these different mainstream publications come out and they say, vax side effects are actually a good thing. But don't worry, if you don't get any vax side effects, you still get protection. It's just it's so Orwellian to me. They're saying that bad things happening to you is good. I don't believe it. But even worse, if we go to the Moderna one, well, Johnson & Johnson is 50.2% local reaction, 55.1% systemic reaction. And there's no long-term studies on any of these. AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine has been in the news a lot with its possible connection to blood clots. They have very high percentage side effects as well. 63.7% injection site tenderness. 54.2% of people have injection site pain. 52.6% of people have headaches. And just on and on and on the list goes. But like, I don't think headaches are a good sign. Like, I don't want anything that causes me to have a headache. But I guess if it gives you protection, some people think it's worth it. One last one here. Moderna has a 92% local reaction rate and then an 82.7% systemic reaction rate. So I think the burden of proof is on anyone trying to argue that these are safe. And I've reached out to so many people just wanting to engage in conversation with them. Not a single, well, there was one taker, but it was just a friendly conversation. None of these big pushers of the vaccines ever want to debate these topics.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely doesn't sound safe to me. And what really gets me is the miscarriages. Pretty much like the murdering babies, right? Like, how can well, I don't want to say murder, but maybe that's, I don't know, but how can like a medical professional give a vaccine to a woman that's pregnant? That's just kind of like an obvious like shouldn't do. But what are your thoughts on that, Tim?
They're actually trying to sell it like it's a good thing now. They're saying, there's some evidence that you pass along the antibodies to the child. And I just think that word antibodies is suspect, like antibody, but I'll put that aside. Yeah, there's been a lot of red flags as far as pregnancy goes, a lot of issues with breastfeeding and pregnancy complications and just outright miscarriages. My count was 70 plus, and that was like a week ago. There's more data that's come out. So yeah, it's very concerning. I don't know if there's a connection or not, but I don't think that that's natural at all. And I think that we have to look at a possibility that it's connected to the vaccine. So I never really say that the vaccine causes any of these things. I just say they had the vaccine and then 2 days later, the miscarriage or something, and at a certain point after you read enough of these stories, you've got to imagine that some of them, just statistically speaking, must, have some correlation, one would think. And that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's interesting to go through all the data. Go ahead.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And when my wife was pregnant, the doctor said, you can't really take anything except for like a little bit of Tylenol, pretty much. And there was, a small list of like stuff she could take, but it was very, very tiny list. And I've just never heard of like any kind of vaccine being okay to administer to a woman who's pregnant. I mean, if you look at any bottle in a medical cabinet, it says on the bottle, consult your doctor if you're pregnant or whatever. So yeah, I just don't know why people think it's okay or even good to take this vaccine or any vaccine while you're pregnant. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm not in the business of telling people what to do medically. I'm with you though. That's my hunch as well. But I think one big problem is that people aren't given all the facts. So oftentimes they're not really given their informed consent. They don't really know what they're getting themselves into. They just watch the news. And I think the news misrepresents this a lot of times. And they push it on pregnant women. And they push it on seniors and on so many different groups. And they don't really walk them through exactly what's going to happen. It's, I don't know. It seems like a lot of mind control to get people to take these shots. But I'm all about people taking whatever they want to take with the asterisk of what I just said, which is that I think people can be hypnotized into doing things that isn't in their best interest or that they even fully comprehend. But I'm 100% absolutely against forcing it or mandating it in any way, because that's just a horrible precedent to set. And if we let the government take away our rights and our autonomy by creating an emergency, they'll just create emergencies to take away our rights. And we have such a sinister government. We should be on the defensive against that.
And history showed us they'll do that, time and again too. So it's definitely not even a new play in their book.
Exactly, but still, a lot of people are like, "Hey, let's roll out these vaccine passports." and people don't even realize what they're doing.
And I mean, if they can tell you if they can force you to put something in your body, I mean, they pretty much 100% own you at that point in time, right? And yeah, for the record, like, I'm not telling anybody to do anything. I'm not for telling people to do anything medically or not, but yeah, it's just I've never heard of a vaccine being okay to administer to anybody who's pregnant. But yeah, it's there's definitely the mainstream media alone. It's just it's all propaganda, and we really have to, when they tell us something, we have to be skeptical, just like a stranger, like if a stranger tells us something weird on the street, right? But yeah, I think we're pretty much getting close to time here. Go ahead and plug away, Tim. Where can people find all your great work?
Yeah, everyone can find my work on timtruth.com, and that just takes you right to my Odyssey page, but it's an easy way to pull it up. And I'm really loving the Odyssey platform. I think you're on there as well, so I'm sure you can see why I like it. Unlike YouTube, it allows us to actually keep our work up, and it's got some cryptocurrency that actually rewards people for inviting and for getting viewed. So also just a daily watch reward. So I think getting people over to Odyssey is one of my missions right now. And if anybody is looking for channels over there, just go to timtruth.com and add me. And I've been putting out all my reports on Odyssey, and I've got a number of 9/11 documentaries coming that I'm excited about. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for having me on the show. What are your thoughts on the censorship issue and Odyssey, if I can ask you before we wrap up?
I love Odyssey. Yeah, and I think YouTube's a dinosaur, in my opinion. I mean, it's going to go down. Just the ads, just the 12 ads alone that I get for watching a video is just extremely annoying. And yeah, I'm pretty familiar with censorship because I had 3 Facebook pages, and they were all, if you added up all the followers, I had a reach of about 100,000 people at one point in time, and that was all gone in an instant, and that was like 8 years worth of work. So, and that really devastated Agorist Nexus in a lot of different ways, and financially too. So, but so yeah, I've definitely seen censorship, and if people have an issue with what we're saying, I feel like they can make their own decisions about it, and that we don't need some kind of platform to treat us like little kids. I think people are smart enough to look into things and make their own decisions. And but yeah, Odyssey's been great. It's a great way to earn crypto too. And yeah, I think it's going to be, now that they have live streaming, I think it's just going to be the biggest. It will eventually be the biggest video platform out there, in my opinion. So
I think YouTube's going to be a hard one to leapfrog. They might be confined to number 2, but it'd be awesome if they overtook YouTube. But yeah, I think Odyssey's awesome. And the live streaming is legit. So I think a format that I would love to see come back is the call-in shows. So I'm going to be doing that over on my channel. And I hope more people will do these call-in shows, because people have been afraid to take calls on YouTube because you never know what the person's going to say, and they might not know all the stickler rules. So I think that'll be interesting to get that back, because I miss just random people talking on the internet.
Right. What do you got, Dag? What are your opinions on censorship and stuff?
Censorship's lame, dude. I just like switching to am I saying it right? LBRY. I think that's great. And then again, like we always suggest, Presearch, just stop using these. There's really no need a lot of times to use like, these big companies that do all this, Google, YouTube, et cetera. I use Google for like Google Maps when I need it because it's the best. What can I say? But yeah, since I stopped using them, since I started using VPNs, since I started using, LBRY and Presearch and stuff, just like I don't get the invasive ads, all the stuff people complain about, never do anything about. I don't get any of that. It's been really nice, all around. It's just I've been using just a lot of open source free programs for like everything now, and it's great, man. Everything's really gotten great. But LBRY particularly, man, they're awesome. One of my favorite things about them is it's not just videos, but you can post files and stuff there, and they can't be removed. So, like for instance, like deter and suspense, that's where their files are. They're there. They're going to be there. So it's they're really cool with 3D printed guns. So that's awesome considering a lot of these other guys, like Keybase, who, I used to really, really like, but now they're even getting a little weird. They kick deter suspense off the Keybase because they don't want anything to do with 3D printed guns. So it's frustrating because sometimes you find somebody who, you think is great and then they get bought by a big company and then boom, they're not cool anymore. But, as long as we keep having a few bastions, hopefully it's something that we can bring people to and grow. We've got the LBRY/Odyssey, Flote, they're great. No censorship and then Presearch. Those are my big ones for that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I guess that's all I got.
Cool. Yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here with a quote. I don't have one offhand, so we'll have to. I was looking for one earlier. I like that Joseph Stalin quote, but
that was good.
Yeah, it was. You got anything, Doug?
No, I'm looking some stuff up.
Usually I'm prepared, but I don't know. I was just excited to have Tim on. I didn't even think about it. So
yeah, this was a hoot. I got to be honest, Tim. I wasn't very familiar with you before. If you notice one dude who liked all your social media today, that was me. I'm the stalker.
Well, it was great to connect, and I always like talking to people who independent, critical thinkers. And I love when I come to different conclusions to others and just talking it out. I think we need more debate and more conversations going forward. And I'm just hoping that, now that we have Odyssey and things like Odyssey and LBRY to serve as platforms, that more people can have these important conversations and we can approach truth. So yeah, thanks again for having me on, guys. It's been fun.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's been great.
Sorry, I was trying to find a.
Here's one. I don't know about
cool.
I don't know about the author, but the quote's good. Censorship reflects the society's lack of confidence in itself. Potter Stewart. Agorist Nexus out.